right, welcome to the Crude Show. Better late than never. Hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night. Brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out in Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. We're also brought to you by Marin Auto Glass, 415-883-3030. MarinAutoGlass.com. We're brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use that promo code KRUEG, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first $100. And we also have sponsors for the month of February. Those are Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Give my good buddy Anthony Catania a call. He's at 831-521-5264. And we're also brought to you by ValleyHillRoofing.net. If you need a good roofer, Valley Hill Roofing is for you. 209-481-6851. And we'll link all the websites to our sponsors in the description. Kev, good to see you, man. How are you?
Doing good. Do I sound all right? I didn't check my mics. Am I all good? Yeah, I think I'm all good.
I think you're doing good.
Yeah, I'm good. I just finished up a final today. Back-to-back Wednesday finals for me. So the call-in show is like a treat. It's like a reward, Just get to relax for a night,
Well, we just got back from Vegas. The week in Vegas was a lot of fun. I'll say that. I wish the Niners had won, but other than the Niners not holding up their end of the bargain, it was still a ton of fun to go to Vegas, road trip with you, see Damon and others, and thank you to Ike for putting us up at the Strata all week long. Thank you to Ike. And then we had some Big Mo Easy, who we're probably going to hear from later tonight, hopefully. Took us out to an incredible steakhouse. We also got, we also had Damon's buddy take us to a great steakhouse in the Wynn, which was, I forget the name of it. Do you remember the name?
It was like W6 or something. It was like W and then a number. I forget though.
There you go. And then we had my good friend Lou Marston take us out to a incredible dinner at Benihana.
But not your typical Benihana. This was a 2-story waterfall. It was different. It wasn't like the Concord Benihana that we're accustomed to.
No, it's probably they say it's one of the best Benihanas ever.
I think they said it was like the first Benihana ever.
First Benihana.
Something like that, yeah.
So we already have people in the chat. Hendrick says Kev got his lucky thong on. No, he didn't. East Coast Red and Gold Podcast. Hit the like button, everybody. Hit the like button. We have Raphael562 who says, "What's up, Larry and everyone?" Kev, that would be you. Raphael562 says, "Like and subscribe, everyone." So, yeah, absolutely. And then MF with the Giants are a freaking mess. Thank you. I have been going back and forth on Twitter with some of these illogical Giants fans. It's like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, it's so sad. It's like Stockholm syndrome or something. It's like, the Giants fans are just they so want to defend the Giants, and I get it. Spring training starting, everybody wants to, hey, new season. And
you want to have optimism. You don't want. It's tough being you, Dad.
I know.
You don't like it sucks to be the guy that's like, this team sucks and they have 162 more games to play.
I know. I know. It believe me. And then people are, why are you so negative? I'm negative because the Giants are a fucking negative story. Because they're horrible. Because they bought the team for $100 million. It's worth $3.7 billion, and they're still acting like they're poor. Come on.
They got some new faces. I mean, it's not looking great. They're not going to look
If
great.
they get Bellinger in a pitcher, wake me. If
I think
they got no fucking
chance. I think the first 20 games will be interesting. Because you get
great. Because
the new
Cactus
faces
League or the regular season.
The regular season.
Yeah. All right.
And then when they're like, 7-13 and going on a 3-game losing streak, you'll start tuning it out, and then it's
a tire fire. We're sitting at 39,377 subs. Patrick Sheehan says, Larry approaching 40,000 subs. Couldn't have done it without Kev. Kev's been doing an incredible job. We've had over 4 million views of our content this month. We've picked up almost 5,000 subscribers in the last 4 weeks alone. We're approaching 400,000 total watch time hours over the last 4 weeks alone. So the channel has been cooking. Absolutely. And thank you to everybody who has made that a reality.
Digital True.
The more Giants you talk, the further from 40,000 you will get. LOL. Yeah, it's true.
Probably. Should we
Should we park the Giant talk?
Yeah, I think we should.
Hey, one programming note. Tomorrow, Thursday, February 22nd, which I believe is my late father's birthday, if he were still around, the great George Kruger. Dad, if you're up there, I love you. Miss you terribly. But also tomorrow, we make our return to the basketball postgame. Because tomorrow we will have our big show. I'm hoping Jesse and Vish will be there. I know Jesse will be. Vish is having some problems right now. I think he got demonetized for some reason. But that's going to be around 6:30. But the Warriors play the Lakers tomorrow night. No LeBron, but we will do a post-game Warriors-Lakers with Carl Foster, Big Frank Red, Danny, Rye, Cy. We are going to be bitching and moaning at each other and fighting tomorrow night after Warrior basketball. You can bank on it. When Cy's involved, you know there's going to be disharmony. He's going to talk down to Dan. Carl's going to get involved. Cy, though, we haven't talked to Cy in a while. So Cy, Danny, Rye, Carl Foster, Baller, and Frank Red all in the house tomorrow night after Warriors Lakers. Talking dubs.
Love to see it back. That was a staple year one of the Krug show. Everyone knows the beginning of the Krug show started with the Warriors winning the title against the Celtics. That was kind of the birth of the Krug show.
There you go. We also have this one from Red Ice. Brad has 110,000 subs, and this cat doesn't even have a press pass. All secondhand info. Yeah, Brad's been hustling, man. We ran into Brad at Lake Las Vegas at the Niner Complex in Vegas on our trip there. I love Brad. Brad puts out a lot of good content.
I feel like people like Brad should have press passes.
Absolutely. Your audience is bigger than the stadium.
Yeah. I mean,
it'd be like,
it's
like I think he kind of likes it.
I don't like how old media is like if you have a small little newspaper that goes out to 600 people, you have a better chance of getting a press pass than if you have if you run like a social media account that has hundreds of thousands of followers.
Right.
How that makes
the Eureka Gazette has a pass and a circulation of 12 people, and Brad has 110,000 subs. No pass.
It'll come around.
Make sense.
I know other industries like tech, like where they hand out press passes for people that cover the tech industry. A bunch of YouTubers get press passes. So I think it's just a matter of time before the sports industry adapts to that.
But you know what? When I talk to Brad about it, he almost seems like he likes sitting in the stands. I don't know. I don't know if he does or not. I don't know if he wants to be where I think he's up near Sac. I don't know if he wants to go to every Niner, media deal. But heck, that's his own biz. He does a great job. He puts out a lot of good content, and
he's the GOAT.
He hustles, man. He hustles. That's what I love about my man Brad. He hustles. All right, Kev. Let's go, says Larry, and Lombardi will get to 100K soon. The rest of these Niner YouTube creators are too negative.
Just call it how you see it. Don't be negative or positive, right?
Think about that. I've got Niner people saying I'm positive, and I've got Giant people saying I'm negative. Is it possible that if the story's positive, I'm positive, and if the story's negative, I'm negative? Just saying. Just think that over. Think that over, everybody. Is Larry inherently negative, or is the Giants story negative? All right,
should
Kev,
we talk Niners?
Let's talk Niners.
So I titled the stream, Should the 49ers Go Internal for the Defensive Coordinator Position? This whole defensive coordinator talk, it's been kind of underwhelming in my opinion. It seems like it should be it's a huge hot button topic right now. They fired the defensive coordinator, they lost in the Super Bowl, and now they're hiring a new defensive coordinator, and we haven't heard anything except from Mike Florio that they like Brandon Staley, and then we heard from Tim Kawakami yesterday that they're gonna hire someone soon. And then today from Mike Silver, we heard that they will go internal, or he thinks that they're likely going internal.
Well, the people that he's talking to around the league think
Right.
they're going internal.
So we've kind of got conflicting reports, kind of vague reports. What's your thought, honestly, just on going internal? Do you think that's the right decision? I think you could make a lot of arguments for why that, it would make sense, because the coaches on the staff already know the system. And last year you had Steve Wilkes, who was an outsider, who had outsider, he had those outsider tendencies that Kyle Shanahan didn't like. And, that kind of caused a riff. And XYZ, next thing you know, he's fired. So is going internal the right move for the 49ers?
No, it's not. It's not the right move. Not because those guys aren't good coaches. Let's try to clear that up. But Daniel Bullocks has been with the Niners since 2017. He's a 40-year-old defensive backfield coach. He has no play calling or defensive coordinator experience to speak of. Okay? So that's one. Then you've got Chris Kacherik, the D-line coach, and I kind of get the feeling that he'd rather be the D-line coach. Then you've got Johnny Holland, who I loved. Heck, I was a Johnny Holland fan when he played in college at Texas A&M. But Johnny's an older guy. I think he's beaten some serious health conditions in the past, and I just don't think of him as a coordinator. Then there's Nick Sorensen, who was the defensive passing game coordinator. He's never been a DC. He's at least been a coordinator. He was Jacksonville's special teams coordinator, but he's got no DC experience. He's only been on the Niners staff as an assistant for 2 years. So, you're telling me you're going to run out Steve Wilkes, who's got head coaching experience, who's been a defensive coordinator in a number of spots, after a year where his defense finished top 10 in total defense, 8th overall in yards per game allowed, 3rd in points per game allowed. So he's got a top 5 defense as far as points. He's got a top 10 defense as far as yards. He just had a nice performance in the Super Bowl where they kind of held Patrick Mahomes in check. And you're going to run him out, and you're just going to say, hey, guys, we're going to promote somebody from within who has no prior defensive coordinator experience. And now I know D'Amico didn't either, but D'Amico played in the NFL at middle backer and wore the green dot. I think he's kind of a unique situation. I think that the person that gets named as the replacement, I mean, what's more important, that the fans like it or that the players like it? I would say it's more important that the players like it. So are the players, you're telling me that Steve Wilkes, after leading a top 5 defense in points per game, didn't have an ally or two in the room? And you're just going to be able to name anybody on your defensive staff who's getting a first try at it, and everybody's immediately, you're going to get 100% buy-in? I don't agree with that. I think there'll be some people that, and if you pick a proven name that's done it, you get immediate buy-in from fans, from players. If you pick somebody who's just talented, you're not going to get an immediate buy-in from anybody. So to me, it just seems very risky to just say, oh, yeah, here you go, non-defensive coordinator experience assistant. You're now the guy. Where if you get a big name guy like a Pete Carroll or Vrabel or the top of the heap in Belichick, You get immediate buy-in from the fans, immediate buy-in from the players. And think about it this way, too. If you're going to even consider any of those top 3 guys, maybe 4 even, Staley, Vrabel, Belichick, or Pete Carroll, you probably have to offer them the position and then give them some time to decide if they want it. And then in this particular situation, some of those guys have made a grip of cash. So, and there is no cap on what you're paying these coordinators. So if you're really going to excite Pete Carroll or Belichick or Vrabel or one of these guys that's gotten paid as a head coach, they know the deal. They know that you can pay them whatever you want. So it's like, not only do you offer them something, then you've got to negotiate out a contract. And then you got to give them a few days to think about it. And are you really going to interview anybody but internal candidates? If you've offered Bill Belichick, like Peter King went on 95.7 yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago, and he said, I would not be shocked at all if Kyle picked up the phone and offered the gig to Belichick or Carroll. Okay, so if you're going to pick up the phone and offer the gig to Belichick or Carroll, and here's a guy in Peter King who actually spent time with Kyle Shanahan on more. He was embedded in their war room. He rode to practice with him. He has a relationship with him. If he would go on the radio and said he wouldn't be shocked at all if Kyle picked up the phone and offered the gig to Belichick or Carroll, well, you can't get guys to come in from, you can't start interviewing guys from around the league. You might be able to interview your in-house guys, but but you're not going to be able to attract guys to get on a bird and fly out. Why would I go fly on an airplane to the West Coast to interview for a job when you told me you offered it to Pete Carroll, or you told me you offered it to Bill Belichick, or I know that you're offering it to those guys? So I just think that the plan is go for the big. I think the plan A, now this is my own theory, plan A is the big name external candidate. And then you have to negotiate a big contract, maybe a precedent-setting contract, to be honest. If you're going to get Bill Belichick, you might have to offer a ton. So who else there's been no leaks, no talk of anybody. Well, why is that? Because they're probably just offered it to one big-name guy or two big-name guys, probably just one. And now they're going to spend their week interviewing internal candidates. So then you look around and you say, well, first of all, does Belichick seem like the kind of guy that would want that out there? No. Carroll doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would want that out there. So there's, and the Niners, the last thing they want is, they pursued these guys, they struck out, so they're going internal. So I think they're only guys that anybody's willing to acknowledge in the inner dialogue that happens between coaches, scouts, personnel people around the NFL are Niner assistants who may have whispered, yeah, I interviewed for it. Yeah, I'm interviewing for it. And so a guy like Silver says, yeah, my moles around the league say that they're just interviewing in-house candidates. Okay, I agree with that, because you're not going to go interview external candidates.
Let me ask you this.
If you've made a big play for somebody of the ilk of Pete Carroll or somebody of the ilk of Bill Belichick. I just don't.
I can't remember last season, and we were covering this semi-closely. It was kind of right when I joined in on the Krug Show in terms of being an editor. But the Steve Wilks hiring, was there rumors before that? I don't remember there being a ton of rumors or leaks about who they were talking to. I know that they gave interviews to their internal candidates last year, and then it ended up giving it to Steve Wilks. But I don't remember anyone speculating, Steve Wilks is being interviewed by the 49ers. Do you remember that?
No talk at all.
So,
Niners Nation has suggested Jeff Ulbrich.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. But first I was just going to say,
yeah,
the Peter King thing, he said before he even said all of that he knew someone that knows Bill Belichick and he doesn't want to be a defensive coordinator. But that was a
He
few
said that
weeks
was
ago.
that was a few weeks back.
Few weeks ago, things could have changed. I think there's no doubt that you leave no stones unturned with this defensive coordinator position. I think some people have been making the argument that it's like Kyle just wants to control, like he's a psychopath, that Kyle just wants to control the team like he's like some dictator or something. I don't think this is a crazy take, and some people have been mentioning it today like it's a crazy take. I think it's pretty obvious Kyle just wants to run the offense. He's an offensive coordinator who's a head coach. He wants nothing to do with, he wants the scheme to be the scheme that he wants, but he doesn't want to be the guy that's like calling the plays. He wants to be able to forget about that. I'm almost 100% positive that at this point, maybe he did at one point, but I'm sure at this point he's like, this is a fucking headache. I just want to find a guy that can, get it done for me. And I think that's why
he wants the defensive coordinator to be somebody that he believes so strongly in,
right,
that he never would question them. Here's the other thing. Shanahan told me and others, I think it was a couple years ago, he's like, well, if I had a good defensive coordinator, but Bill Belichick was available, I'd be stupid not to hire Bill Belichick and fire my defensive coordinator. So he's already stated that. So now we're supposed to believe that Kyle, who knows that Bill Belichick was out there and did not get one of the 7 or 8 head coaching openings, that he fired Steve Wilks, who's top 10 in yards and top 5 in points allowed and has been an NFL head coach, and he knew that Belichick was out there, but he has no interest in Belichick? See, I don't buy that at all. I think for sure Belichick has been offered the job. I think for sure he's been offered the job.
At least considered.
He may not take it, but I think for sure he's been offered the job.
Let's be honest. There's not a lot of good candidates. The Niners going to the Super Bowl hurts them when they don't have a defensive coordinator, because Black Monday, is that what it's called? The Monday after the season's over?
Yeah.
That already came and went. And coaches that got fired and then rehired, and the coaching trees, or the changing of coaches, that's already kind of gone on. And the Niners kind of missed that. Dan Quinn's now the coach somewhere else. He's no longer.
Vic Fangio is now in Philly.
Yeah, it's like the coaching candidates, there's not a lot of great scheme fits, honestly. There's just not a lot of good candidates. One candidate that was brought up today, and the reason he's brought up is because of the whole, Tim Kawakami obviously broke the news that they're closing in a deal soon. People were asking him, who do you think is your top candidate? Who's the top candidate? He said he'll release it later in an article. He released it today, this morning, and he said that the 2 candidates, but one in particular that he thinks the 49ers will go after or get as a defensive coordinator. One is the Indianapolis Colts defensive coordinator, Gus Bradley. The second is Jets defensive coordinator, Jeff Ulbrich.
Wait, where did Gus Bradley's name pop up? How did that pop up?
Kawakami just listed him as a potential option for the Niners. Gus Bradley.
That's interesting.
Again, these are both defensive coordinators, so it's not an automatic hire. The team would have to let you go, right? Because you can't just steal another team's defensive coordinator.
Well, you could if you gave them a designation as assistant head coach.
Right. So you'd have to either give them a head coach or like an assistant head coach name, or the team would just have to give them up willingly. Jeff Ulbrich is an interesting name. He's a former 49er, 10 years with the Niners. He's a linebacker, and the Niners love linebackers as their kind of defensive coordinator because it's kind of what brings the continuity together. And it was kind of lacking without, a linebacker coach as a defensive coordinator this year. Ulbrich has experience under the Seahawks and Pete Carroll back in 2010. He also coached with Kyle for a season back with the Falcons. What do you think about Jeff Ulbrich?
Well, let's talk about Gus Bradley first, and then we'll get to Ulbrich. Gus Bradley very well could be the guy. He is the Colts defensive coordinator. He also, he was a guy that, he's worked with Monty Kiffin, who is, obviously Monty Kiffin was the DC on the 2002 Buccaneers, who John Lynch played for, right? And they won the Super Bowl. So that's interesting. And Gus Bradley was the Seahawks defensive coordinator 2009, 10, 11, and 12, and they run this scheme. You know, they run the same scheme that the Niners run. So Gus Bradley's interesting for sure. You know, and he was not only that, he was the defensive coordinator with the Chargers under Anthony Lynn, who was obviously just here with the Niners. So you see some of those same people where I think Gus Bradley, you know, he wasn't very good as a head coach. He was 14-48 as a head coach. But interestingly enough, Gus Bradley's kid, Carter Bradley, is in this draft. He's a quarterback for South Alabama. I kind of like Carter Bradley. And the Niners may get rid of Darnold, and I could see them going after a Carter Bradley as a day 3 quarterback pick. You know, you move Brandon Allen to number 2 and you draft Carter Bradley number 3. So in a lot of ways, Gus Bradley makes a lot of sense. As far as Ulbrich goes, you know, Ulbrich he is the DC in Detroit, in Jets, with the Jets now. He was a former Niner, played at Hawaii. And so that would, you know, has relationships, I'm sure, with Jed and others. But, you know, you'd have to make him the assistant head coach. Otherwise, I don't think you can't just take a defensive coordinator from the Jets and say, well, he's now our defensive coordinator. You have to give him a new title that somehow is a promotion. So you'd have to make him the assistant head coach. I don't know if that's a big deal or not. That's probably just a designation and a few more dollars. But Ulbrich is interesting, you know. He was in Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan. Their time there overlapped. Ulbrich was the Falcons, a Falcons coach, and Shanahan was there in 2015 and 2016 as the OC. So, you know, he played for the Niners. When he began his coaching career, it was under Pete Carroll with the Seahawks, so he's got lots of experience in this scheme. And he coached with Kyle in Atlanta. So, and that trust factor is huge. This guy's also spent time with Pete Carroll, with Dan Quinn, who was obviously the DC, or was the head coach in Atlanta, and then with Robert Saleh. So there's a lot, you know, he's definitely, Ulbrich is a great candidate. I think he would be a very, very good candidate.
Yeah.
I think that's, you know, there are people that don't love Jeff Ulbrich. I think that would be a very good call. So Ulbrich, Gus Bradley, and then I'll throw out Monty Kiffin's kid, Chris Kiffin, who's the Houston linebacker under D'Amico, linebacker coach. He had a big hand in the Niners' uncovering of Azeez Al-Shaair as an undrafted free agent. Al-Shaair was on the sideline during the Green Bay playoff game. Al-Shaair's a free agent, and with Greenlaw being where he's at, I could see Al-Shaair being absolutely one of the key free agents the Niners go after. So, you know, so possibly, you know, Vrabel's coached him, but then also Chris Kiffin has a relationship with him that goes back a number of years. Maybe Chris Kiffin gets the job. So I would say between Ulbrich, Gus Bradley, Chris Kiffin were, you know, I still would rather go with Belichick, and I would offer him the gig, but you know, those 3 names are great names.
I think, yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Ulbrich's a great candidate. Everything makes sense, right? He's working under Saleh, who's under the coaching tree of Shanahan. He understands the defense. You know, he's a former Niner. He has connections to the team. But again, he's a defensive coordinator. And it just shows how few candidates there really is. Like, I like Jim Schwartz as a candidate, but he's the defensive coordinator of the Browns. You can't. And
there's more of a rivalry between Shanahan and him.
No, I know. Ulbrich would be like, you know, he's a former 49er. He's going to embrace it. He's probably from here. I'm just saying anyone's available then, right? Any defense coordinator is available, because you can't. I don't know how easy or hard it is to just hire another defensive coordinator and just give him a kind of a random title that's like a promotion. If that, I'm not sure if there's rules against that because I don't know. It seems
you can't take a guy on a lateral situation.
Right.
But if you give him the title of assistant head coach, you can get around that.
So then you could hire any defensive coordinator in the entire league if you wanted to.
If you don't have an assistant head coach, somebody
Right.
who already mans that position.
So then I guess anyone is technically a potential candidate. Technically.
Right, and there's no cap. So you can you can say, "Hey,
But I'm saying-
Jeff, what do you make with the Jets?" "Oh, I make $3 million." "Okay. I'm making 12. We'll pay you 7.5. Come on out."
But let's just assume you can't hire another defensive coordinator that already has a job. Say that all these defensive coordinators are well into their plans for next season. They're not jumping.
Well, then
ship
Chris
right now.
Kiffin's a linebacker coach, so you could potentially, get him.
Right. So then your options are
Or-
significantly
or-
limited.
Vrabel, Belichick, Carroll, Staley,
Yeah.
the guys who have, big reps, and have been head coaches, but they're available.
So there's only a few guys, really, in my mind.
Yeah.
Externally.
And are you really gonna run out a guy who is as established and as well known as, if I'm a player, if I'm Nick Bosa and you run out Steve Wilkes for, Chris Kacherik or
If Chris Kocurek, I would
I don't know.
actually-
I don't know if I would. You're still talking about asking somebody to man a role they've never run before, and you're getting rid of a guy who had a top 5, top 10 type defense who just kept down Mahomes. I think it has to be a slam dunk. It has to be like, yeah, no question. Gus
And
Bradley, I think, is a real interesting name. to be
Hiring
honest.
internally also is just an admission that you made a huge fucking mistake last year because
Right.
you interviewed those guys last year and you didn't give them the job, and then you hired a guy from outside. Then and as soon as you fire him, you say it wasn't a good fit, and then you hire the guy that you were going to hire last year. It's just like, what were we thinking? What were you thinking? You have a Super Bowl team, and you can't make mistakes like that. That's just not a mistake you can make. Just throwing something at the wall, hoping it sticks with Steve Wilkes, and then admitting that you were completely wrong and hiring someone from internally the next season. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting. You were just saying that you wouldn't like if Kocurek, it would be a step down with Kocurek. I think Kocurek might be the only coach in this team that if he did get promoted, I'd be like, you know what? He's been there long. He's an established coach. He's a good coach. Like, I could see that as an internal.
There was a scene in the mic'd up version of the Super Bowl. Have you seen that yet?
I've seen clips.
All right, there's one scene where Chase Young is standing there on the sideline talking to George Kittle, and George Kittle's like, "Bring it every single play with everything you got." And Chase Young's like looking him in the eye and like serious as a heart attack is like, "I will not let you down." So, I mean, to me, I thought that was a very interesting subplot of the Super Bowl was Chase Young and the fact that he Cadillac'd it in the NFC Championship game. He did play for Chris. He played for Wilkes. He played for Chris. I don't know. I mean, it's like neither of those guys could motivate Chase Young to do that, but to play hard. But then I thought it was so interesting watching Chase Young look into the eyes of George Kittle and say, "Man, you're going to get everything I got." And I thought Chase Young played with his hair on fire in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, he played well. He did play well. I mean, that whole defensive line I thought played well.
Yeah,
I thought
that was the other interesting little revelation is Mahomes ran off the field after that opening series where Greenlaw and the Niner D line was just fired up to all get out.
Didn't Greenlaw look great? He looked
great. He looked incredible. And and you hear Mahomes on the sidelines, guys, we need more intensity. We need more intensity. They're playing with a lot more intensity than we are. We got to ratchet up our intensity. And it was really revealing. It really was, because it was true. The 49ers came out on fire on defense, on the defensive side of the ball. And they basically set the tone for the level of intensity and emotion that they were going to play with, and it was way higher than what Kansas City was bringing to the table. And Mahomes, to his credit, noticed it and called out his guys and said, "Guys, we need to match their intensity." Thought that was really interesting.
I want to show you one last thing. It's the last topic here before we go to the calls. We got some people waiting in the green room. I forgot what it was called for a second. This is I know we've been doing a lot of Willard and Dibbs like guest reaction videos or just content recently. But TJ, you got to help me with his name. TJ
Hushmanzada.
Yeah, the longest last name I've ever seen. I've probably ever seen in my entire life.
You saw the commercial years ago. I'll take TJ Hushmanzilli.
You know about this. You were one.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
What were you saying?
Oh, there was a commercial for fantasy football one year, and they're like, I'll take TJ Hushmanzilli. And then the guy goes, championship. He got the name wrong. You had to be there. It was a hell of a commercial. People saw it, I'm sure. But go ahead.
All right, here's the clip.
A big name receiver opposite another big name receiver, and you know how TJ, you know about this. You were once a big name receiver opposite another big name receiver, and you know how teams approach the cap. The idea of almost $50 million to two receivers is very rare. So, give it to us. If you're the 49ers, how would you play this with these two guys?
You can do it. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Debo's contract next year is the final year in his contract. If I'm not mistaken, ideally you want to keep the younger guy. That's just the way the NFL works. But if they don't re-sign BA, he's going to be fine, because finding a good receiver that can get open, that can run, that's shifty, that can block, you don't find all of that in one receiver. And so either way it goes, he's going to be fine. But if I'm the 49ers, I'll find a way to make it work, because then you're going to have to go try to find somebody that can do what he's done, and it's not that easy.
So that was TJ there. He's kind of saying Ayuk's the guy you want to keep long term. Debo's contract's up next year. You can't, and for people wondering, you can't cut Debo this year to save any money or trade Debo for any money. His dead cap hit is, I think, like 100% of his contract value. So there's no benefit of getting rid of Debo this year. But he kind of made it seem like you'd rather have Ayuk long term. What do you think about that, Debo or Ayuk?
Well, there's no question. I think just Debo runs through. Ayuk he doesn't take on as much contact. I think Ayuk's body's gonna age better than Debo's. I think Ayuk is a little bit more of a complete receiver. He's a better route runner than Debo. Debo is, a big part of the Niners' ignition, though. And, to me, I hate getting rid of any kind of tone-setting player, because it's hard to have a tone-setting player. You could draft a guy with the first pick in the draft. Doesn't mean he's a tone setter. So when you find guys that are tone-setting players, man, you want to keep them. Debo's a tone setter, but I'd rather have Ayuk long-term. But the thing is, you've already signed Debo for $28 million. So you're not going to be able to move Debo, and if you do, you're not going to get nearly as much in return unless somebody's really in love with him. And then you got to factor in the fact that Shanahan loves Debo. So Debo's here. And then the question is, do you pay Ayuk, $28 million and have $50 million tied up in wide receivers on a team that loves to run the ball? That there's that question as well. But, I'd like to – you can do whatever you want. The NFL is about prioritizing. You can have both those. You can have any two guys you want, but it doesn't mean you're going to have Kittle. Doesn't mean you're going to have Juice. Doesn't mean you're going to have Armstead. Doesn't mean you can keep Mooney. You can, it's not a specific Debo or Ayuk. You can have both, but you can't have other good guys. So you just got to kind of decide who you need, who's replaceable. A lot of times it's about your draft position, who's available in the draft. What are you thinking about the draft? So if you get rid of Ayuk, wide receiver becomes a much bigger priority. If you get rid of Kittle, tight end does. If you get rid of Armstead, D-line does. So, you already have a need in the first round for a first-round offensive lineman at tackle. So it's just a tough call. That's all I would say. I would, if it was Debo or Ayuk, I would sign Ayuk.
Yeah, I heard Bucky Brooks and Peter King on 95.7 the game yesterday said the exact same thing, and that was, you don't have to sign Ayuk this year. You have another year. You don't have to do it right now. I know he's wanting it right now, and he's having the classic signs that every wide receiver who's going through a contract extension goes through, which is posting stuff on Instagram and complaining about stuff. I mean, Debo went through the same thing, 2 years ago. You don't have to give him the money right now. I have read that if you did extend him, you could save $11 million in cap by the extension, but it's more of like in the long term, you can't really be paying both your receivers 20 million or 50 million plus in 1 year.
Well, and look how many teams around the league are having an uncomfortable time with their receivers.
Right.
Or trying to get them signed. A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill. They've all been traded. Because they couldn't get the teams that had them couldn't
And players
couldn't figure out how to pay them. And then Peter King made a great point. He's like, the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, and they've gone to back-to-back Super Bowls. They have not had a 1,000-yard receiver or running back in either of the last 2 years, and yet they still found a way to win the Super Bowl.
And like, look at how many wide receivers are looking for contracts this offseason. You have T. Higgins, Mike Evans, Calvin Ridley potentially. Justin Jefferson can't even get a contract. I mean, it's a weird market because every single season going into the draft, you hear this draft class has an insane amount of great wide receivers, and it's always kind of true. Like, there always is a lot of good receivers. But that's kind of played itself out on the back end now, where there is just a lot of good, talented wide receivers in the NFL. And some of these teams aren't willing to spend the top money for some of these players. Now, at the same time I say that, I don't think that, trading Brandon Ayuk and drafting anyone in the draft is going to be an immediate fix, especially for a team that's trying to win a Super Bowl in the next year or two. It kind of seems like it takes a year or two for these rookie receivers, unless you're lucky, like a Jamar Chase or a Zay Flowers this year. But I just think long term, you want Brandon Ayuk over Debo. I don't think that's really a crazy take. And the reason I say that is just because if you look at the teams that beat the Niners this year, the teams that beat them well were the Browns and the Chiefs, especially. They ran heavy man coverage, and I think Ayuk's your man coverage beater. I think he's your receiver that beats man coverage for the next few years. And I think, in the Super Bowl, it's not that he got locked up in a few plays, but they also didn't scheme him to get the ball a lot. They had a lot of man beaters going to Debo and not to Ayuk. So I just think that
to beat man, you got to be a refined route runner.
Right.
And Debo's not a refined route runner. By the way, Stark's in here. Debo got to go. The hell with dead cap. He can run routes, slow as hell, not the best hands, always hurt. I'd take a second-round pick for Debo. You're not getting a second-round pick for Debo. Shows what you know.
What does the hell with dead cap mean? Like,
he's saying well, there'll be some dead cap dollars if you move Debo. It shows what Starks knows. You're not getting a second-round pick for Debo. It's not about they're not going to be able to get a second-round pick for Debo.
He's on a 1-year deal.
Nobody's going to give you a second-round draft choice for Debo Samuel. Oh, I almost feel like Ulbrich might not even be the right hire from the standpoint of if you're Kyle Shanahan, you run out Steve Wilks and you don't improve, you look bad, right? You look bad. So you got to make sure that whoever is the replacement for Wilks is as good or better. Otherwise, it's gonna be a rough year. And the players, also have to have some buy-in. If the players don't buy in, that's it. They don't buy in.
I agree with you, Big Mo. I don't think this is I'm blanking on the Cowboys owner. What's his name?
Jerry Jones.
This is not a Jerry Jones hiring Mike McCarthy just to do whatever he tells him. This is going to be a guy that Kyle trusts and is going to do the job, and so that Kyle doesn't have to do the job. I think you're 100% right there.
Yeah, I really believe that too. Like I said, man, even in the business world, that's why you delegate the responsibilities to the people who can best do the job without constant supervision. So now, as the head coach, you can do your job. If you want to run the offense, you can do your job. But if you're also worried about what the defensive calling, if you got to call a timeout because your defensive coordinator is calling a zero blitz and you ain't about that, then that is an issue. And we can't have those issues with this type of team that we have, because guess what? Between me and you and everybody watching this stream, we're wasting our talent if we don't get this shit together. And that is the facts.
The Niners just have to make sure. Look, they got one more year before they gotta pay the quarterback. They gotta figure out a way to run it back and have some success. Simple as that. You can't waste this year. You got one more year of Brock Purdy on the rookie deal.
Yeah.
You got to make it happen, man. You cannot waste this year. So this year is going to, and that's why the Ayuk thing, Peter King brought up an interesting point. He said, you know what? I might want to have a conversation with Ayuk and say to him, Brandon, we're going to take care of you, but can we do it next off season and not this off season? Or are you going to become unglued and stop working out, stop, just basically hold out? And because, I mean, if you're going to make this decision and put it off to next year and you don't have that conversation with him, well, then what happens? Now you're, you've saved some money, but you've got a number one receiver who's not fired up and he's not going to do his thing. You got to make sure he's in a good space mentally. If that's what you want to do and put it off till next year, fine. But if you decide you're going to do this and you do it in a vacuum and you don't include him in that dialogue and you lose him or he's not all in next year, I mean, there are stipulations in the CBA that will fine him for not being there. So it's not like he's going to hold out all year. He'll be fined, and Bucky Brooks made that point. But is that where you want to go with your number one receiver, is get into some really hostile deal? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And it's not in anybody's best interest. You know what I'm saying? It's like, let's be honest here. Bro, if the 49ers ain't careful, Brandon Ayuk is going to end up on a rival team like the fucking Chiefs. And guess what? Then he's going to get a fucking ring for the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to be over there kicking our damn selves like when we got rid of DeForest Buckner. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, it's like, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm a positive Niner fan. You know what I mean? I believe in what we got to do. We're going to make it happen. But, bro, sometimes this shit look like, bro, what are you guys doing, man? I don't get paid millions of dollars to do this shit, fellas. I'm just a guy who loves 49er football, as I always say. You know what I mean? And y'all motherfuckers is making the money. Handle that shit.
Big Mo, we're going to let you go, bro, because we got a full room and we're going to try to get to as many as we can tonight. But let me just say once again, man, thank you for hosting us. It was the best night in Vegas, I thought. It was not only the best meal we had in Vegas, but it was also the best night we had in Vegas. And
Capped off a long day.
It capped off a long day. Kev and I were super gassed. And I loved your vibe because you were charged up, and man, you took us to a great spot, and just it made the trip, man. So I just wanted to say, man, much love, much respect, and if there's anything that we can do for you in the future, we'll do it.
Oh no, man! Like I said, bro, I love you guys. I appreciate you guys' time. I appreciate you guys having me on. Speak my mind and just preach my love for Niners football. Like I said, I'm not an expert or nothing, but, hopefully some of the people agree with what I got to say. And if you don't agree with me, then you're probably a rah-rah, shish-boom-bah person. Anyway, gentlemen, if I'm in Cali, you got to take me. You know where you're going to take me, right?
We're going to Pig in a Pickle.
Have a good night, guys.
Big Mo, appreciate you, bro. All right, Big Mo. Sometimes Big Mo's the cleanup hitter. Tonight, leadoff hitter. Kev
had to break the tension in the room.
Had to break the tension. Sometimes I just had it. Somebody said I go off like twice a year.
Yeah, I saw that. That's so true.
I do.
That is true. You do have like at least two. One of the two. You never know when it's coming, but I'll just like check the stream and it'll be like, "What happened?" Be screaming at like coach or something. I'm like, "What's going on?"
Who's number 2? Who's up? We going
Niner
Niner gang? Niner gang. What's up, man? How are you?
Wonderful, gentlemen. How are we doing tonight?
Now
All
you're
right.
calling us from where again?
Fresno, California.
Fresno. There you go.
Just got one question, Larry.
Yeah.
Are you a fanboy?
Ooh.
I'm
God.
just playing. I'm just too soon, Kev.
I saw you in the green room as I was going off.
He was
Oh,
cracking up. I
buddy.
could
You,
tell.
you seemed to be enjoying it.
Hey, you got to give it to them straight, man. It is what it is, and some people have their own ways about dealing with shit, and that's how you feel. You got to get it out. Let it ride, man. You know. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: shouldn't let it get to you, because I'm gonna tell you like this: if you got haters, you're doing something right, buddy. So just keep doing it. Let all.
Are
the
we
hate-
going back to Hard Knocks with Robert Saleh? If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping.
Oh no, I'm going all the way back to Cat Williams. I heard of Cat Williams way back in his stand-up back in the day, buddy. Way back when. But anyways, man, great take. Thanks for having me on. Man, I think Larry Krueger for our defensive coordinator, man. You bring the energy, you're in-house. I mean, I ain't seen a player on the defensive side as fired up as you was all damn season.
Well, you know what? That's if I could just call a couple stunts up front, maybe some coverages. If I actually had talent for the position, maybe. I used to work in the Canadian Football League for the defensive coordinator and would design a lot of the games that we ran up front. But no, I would be out over my skis. I would be the worst defensive coordinator. They would be halfway through the year. People would be like, "Where's Wilkes?"
No, man, I think with this defensive coordinator thing, Kyle's really got, I don't care who, like Big Mo said to your guys' point, I don't care who it is. I just hope that Kyle Shanahan fully has belief in him through the good and the bad, because it's not all going to be good. We all know that, right? So I just want Kyle to be able to have full belief in whoever he brings in-house, outside, doesn't matter to me. Just have full belief. That way Kyle can focus on what he truly wants to do, the offense, right? And the other part is if Kyle could just bring in a confidant to help him with a little bit of head coaching duty, something somewhere, just to lighten his load a bit, man, because I think that's all he needs to get over the hump, because somewhere it just seems like he's a very smart guy. And it just seems like, how do you miss, just for example, and I'm not harping on it, like the little Super Bowl rule, like you're so smart. How do you miss something so small? Well, to me, because you're doing too much. You only got so much space in your brain, so much time in a day. And when you're trying to cover so many different things, head coaching duties versus OC duties, that's outrageous. I mean, I've heard you guys say it on the live. I've heard them guys say, they sleep at the office 10, 20-hour days. I mean, it's got to, and then especially after the 20-week season, go leading up to the Super Bowl, it's just got to be mentally draining, no matter who you are, and I think that's what it's going to take for Kyle to get over the hump, is somebody he fully trusts on the defense, no worries, and just a little confidant, somebody to say, "Hey, Kyle, just hold on, buddy. Just you're good here, man. Just keep giving the ball to your great running backs, or keep throwing the ball, whatever the game's calling for."
I personally would love to see a veteran defensive guy on the sidelines who also could do two roles, right? Who could run the D and also be that sounding board the way Brad Seeley was that sounding board for Jim Harbaugh. I just feel like Kyle wears a lot of hats. He's the head coach. He's the OC. He's got a hand in the personnel. And I just feel like if he had somebody that was his total equal right there, and I know they've got analytics people up in the booth. Some of those guys are pretty freaking young. And I just think that if Kyle had a big-time guy who had real credentials, I don't think he wants to be involved in the D. I don't think he wants to walk into the defensive room. I don't think he wants to be involved in defensive calls. But I also don't think that he fully trusted Wilkes. And I think you saw it in the Super Bowl. You saw it the way – I mean, unfortunately, I didn't love the way Kyle kind of threw Wilkes under the bus after that Minnesota call, but at least he was being true to how he felt. He felt like that was a blown call, that Steve botched it, and instead of covering him, he said it. But once he said it, I was like, man, this is going to be a short-term deal.
Yeah, I think so too, man. Kyle's good at what he does, man. It's just something's off, man. I'm not there. I don't know, but something's off. Something's holding him back. And the last thing I'm going to say to it is, how big of a person or personality can he bring in as a DC? Because what if we bring someone in and gets us over the hump? We all know where that narrative's going. Well, you needed such and such to get. Kyle needed this guy to get over the hump. Kyle, is he mature enough to be okay with that narrative? Because that's what the narrative is going to be, not by necessarily you, me, or anybody else, just national media. That's what it's going to be. Kyle needed Belichick to get him over the hump, so to speak.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing about that.
I don't care.
No, I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying that's just a stupid.
Here's the thing about that. If
If
you're an old Niner fan like me, they said the same thing about Deion Sanders. Oh, man, you're going to get Deion. He's going to take away half the field. This Super Bowl doesn't count like the others. But guess what? It sure as hell does.
Yes, it does.
Especially as time goes on. You think the Warriors championship didn't count with KD? It sure as hell did. And this one, if you got Belichick, yeah, there'd be some people who would be like, hey, Kyle, you needed Belichick to climb to the top of the mountain. But as time wore on, it would just be he won the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl. You either do or you don't. You either did or you didn't, and nobody really remembers how much help you had along the way. So, I don't know. Personally, I would say when I'm watching Andy Reid, one of the great coaches in NFL history, have Steve Spagnuolo, who's one of the great defensive coordinators in the game, on the same staff with Dave Taub, who's maybe the best special team coordinator in the last 20, 25 years, they have some big-time coaches. So it may take a little bit more big-time coaches on the Niners staff to climb to the top of this mountain. That might be what they need. I mean, they need a better offensive line. They need a better defensive line. They need better coverage. But they may need a Belichick. They may need a Pete Carroll. They may need a star defensive coordinator.
I don't think there's nothing wrong with that, man.
I
think it would be more of a negative if it's too arrogant or whatever that may be to not allow something like that to happen, because Kyle's young. What is he, 44, 45 years old, something like that? He's got a long ways to go in his coaching career, and there's nothing wrong with continuing to learn your game and developing your process. And as time goes on, we're starting to see the NFL slowly, surely catching up to this little West Coast offense. The majority of the teams are starting to run it. It's all coming in full circle. So what do you got to do? You have to adapt. You have to constantly make changes. And as human beings, we get stuck in our own ways. And if nobody's telling us, hey, you need to look this way and, open your eyes up a little bit, we're going to continue to go down that path. That's just the human nature, and Kyle's such a big personality and been so successful in his career that I don't know if there's a whole lot of people that's telling him, hey, Kyle, let's talk about this. Or, hey, man, let's think about this, and hey, are you sure you want to throw the ball 30-something times? Sure you want to come out and throw it 10 times? You don't want to split this up? I mean, you're around the team a lot. Is there anybody you feel that goes to him and says, hey, man, what's up?
Well, I mean, there's different personalities on their staff, and there are guys that are on the staff that would challenge him, but he's the head coach. It's his show, I don't think there's anybody, I think if you had a Vrabel or a maybe even a Gus Bradley, a Belichick, a Pete Carroll, maybe they would be a little bit more independent and chase him out of their room respectfully. But I don't think he would try to inject himself into the defense as much if he had a guy that had real, credentials. Not that Steve doesn't. I that's the other thing too. It's like I feel uncomfortable saying anything bad about Steve because I like Steve, and Steve's got a presence. Steve's a man. Steve makes his own call, and I have no problem with the way Steve went about things this year. But ultimately they fell short, and it's about relationships, and Kyle didn't have the trust, and he moved on. So Now they just got to make sure that whoever is the replacement, that the players immediately go, yeah, that's the guy I want. That's the guy. That guy we're following. It can't be kind of like, well, he's a young, smart guy, but he's never done it before.
Well, what it really can't be is it really can't be someone who doesn't run the scheme, because that's just not going to fly this time. I mean, everyone's going to look at you like, what? You hired another guy that doesn't run this scheme to run your scheme? That's where the fans and everyone in the room is just going to draw the line. So that kind of limits your options. That limits your options to your internal candidates and then a few external candidates. So that's why I think that there's not a lot of options right now for the 49ers besides the big names and the internal candidates.
Is it strange that, or is it just a formality of how they operate as far as, I felt like Kyle knew before the playoffs, definitely before the Super Bowl, that Steve Wilks was done, no matter what the outcome was. You know, they didn't jive, whatever that was. I felt like he knew that. Is it non-formal for them to start looking that direction, or do they not want to lead on to Steve Wilks because it's like, hey, we just finally made this decision? Or, I mean, how does something like that go to fruition? Because to Kev's point, now we're past the Super Bowl. We've had all these extra weeks while these other teams that were looking already got their guys. We're kind of down to scraping the bottom of the barrel, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that you just gotta, you made your decision, and now you just got to make a good, grounded football decision, and it's got to be an upgrade. You can't go with, hey, it's a young smart guy. No, young smart guy doesn't work, because you got to have pelts on the wall. You got to walk in day one, whoever that DC is, and every guy in that room's got to go, I love Steve, but yeah, this is the right call. You know? And I think the guys that we're talking about, Ulbrich maybe not as much because he's a younger coach, but Gus Bradley, Pete Carroll, obviously Belichick, Mike Vrabel, I think those guys walk in day one, credibility.
Yep.
But I don't think you can go with, like, some people said, hey, Georgia's got a great defensive coordinator. I don't care if he's, the reincarnate of Buddy freaking Ryan. You're running it back this year. It's got to work this year.
Right.
This year. It can't. It's not going to be one of these things where, man, they hired a great guy and he wasn't very good that first year, but man, 3-4 years in, it really started to work out. No, it's got to work this year. It's all about
that kind of goes for all of their free agency decisions. That goes with the Brandon Ayuk, potentially trading him for a rookie wide receiver. It's like, a lot of this is like, I know it's kind of fatalistic to say, with Brock Purdy, who's 24, to say that their window is closing. And I'm not really saying their window is closing, but they definitely have a damn good shot of making the Super Bowl this upcoming year again. So it's a lot of the stuff that takes a step backwards is not going to be favorable.
If they solidify that offensive line, Larry made me feel a little bit better about last time I called in, because I was like, how do we move forward? How do I see them being better next year?
I looked at the offensive line, not to interrupt you, but I looked at the O-line in the draft and in free agency. They can find some guards in free agency. They will not find a tackle. If they're going to find a tackle, it's going to be in the top 50 to 60 picks of the draft. So if they get to like the third round or, pick 88 and they still haven't drafted a tackle, they're in a world of hurt, man. Because there's no free agent out there in March to save them.
I was watching Jesse and Grant earlier, and they're talking about Trent Brown's back on the market. What do you think about trying to bring him back?
I mean, what's his conditioning level?
I'm not sure. They said he's still kind of injury prone, but he had a good season.
Yeah, I mean he can play both right and left. He's a big-bodied guy. I looked at the free agent list. He's probably the most attractive guy out there that you could probably get. So, but they chased him out because they didn't trust him to stay in condition, and now you're going to go back to him. That seems a little counterintuitive, but you never know. It's all about your choices, right? And right now, maybe they don't have as many choices at tackle, especially in free agency, as you've had in the past. They've got to get a starting right tackle in this draft. And if they're really going to contend down the road, they got to find Trent Williams' replacement at left tackle. So this is a big, big year for them. I love Ladarius Henderson from Michigan. Love Jones, the big tackle from Texas. Love Javon Foster, the big tackle from Missouri. These are the non-round one tackles. So that there's a few of them out there that are pretty damn good. But I would suggest getting a big-time tackle is, and you might have to trade up into 20. You may have to make a trade somehow and move from 31 to 20 because, to me, if you could get J.C. Latham or Taliesin Fuaga, those are plug-and-play right tackles and difference makers for the next decade. But they're going to be gone by 15. So I don't know how you get them.
Yeah, no, I watched the Super Bowl again, man, and I think the biggest factor I seen in that Super Bowl on it was what really, I think, stopped us from just being a complete blowout is the offensive line, man. The Chiefs, I mean, yeah, they were sending one more pass rusher than what we were accounting for, but had we had a solid right side of the line, they might not have done that as much. They might have backed off a little bit. But man, Brock Purdy, he was just under distress constantly in that game. It was, man.
And he played well. He played well.
I think
Niner gang, let us jump, bro, because we got to get Kev back to his books.
Kev, stay in school, brother. Proud of you, buddy.
Jay.
Keep it up. Larry, love all the one-on-ones, man. Favorite part of the shows. Love them. Later, guys.
Thanks, man. Appreciate
Thanks, man.
you. The Stride. Who are we going to now?
I didn't click that.
Oh, you didn't? I went to Stride Abides, but it's Tanjon Zoe.
Zoe.
Oh,
It's just Zoe.
Zoe. Okay. How are you?
Yeah, because it was you there, and then I'm doing good, Mr. Kruger. Thanks for having me on your show. Yeah, I got a bone to pick with your son. Then I want to
Really?
say this because my feelings was hurt.
Okay.
I'm listening to him speak, and he's into the football, but he's starting to sound like a lot of the guys who just really don't care about other fans that care about the players and that what the players feel. And I'll tell you this, and then I'm gonna tell you exactly what I think they need. I'm to be honest with you, I just think that this front office, they're just been one big screw up, so they can't get back. They're the reason why fans 15 years ago, 12 to 15 years ago, got on Jed York's ass. They called this ass out so much that he was stuck in Candlestick. He was so scared that he had to come out with police and security just to explain that yes, he did screw up with the whole franchise. He screwed up everything, letting real good players go. And I'm gonna say this, I just think the talk about trading Ayuk and Debo that gotta hit. I need that to stop. I'm gonna tell you why. You don't let go of someone that helped you get to the damn Super Bowl. Okay, you talk to the ones who screwed up. Like if you would have said, let's trade Jake Moody or Moody for a better kicker. We do need a damn better kicker. Okay. I remember seeing Niners cut real good kickers who can kick a 68-yarder and trade for people who was a bust.
68-yarder.
Oh yeah, that was one we called this guy. What was his name? Oh my gosh, back in 2010. Back in 2010. So that's how long I've been a Niner faithful. I've been a Niner faithful since 1986. So I was
There
a little
you go.
girl. So
I like that.
I started studying the football myself because I was like, shoot, I would like to be a commentator one day because I'm learning. But I've also seen some
is it Tanjon? Tanjon. What did
Yes.
Kev say that you're taking?
What's your bone? What's your bone?
Yeah,
with me?
He was
what's
talking
your beef?
about Debo, O's on his contract. Ayuk, if you could just trade Ayuk and get this. We can stop talking about that. Let's talk about how we can look at the ones that didn't contribute to the 49ers team. Like we need to add to it, not take away. It defeats the whole purpose. This is why we're in this merry-go-round circle of not making it anywhere anyway, because every time we get close to what it is and we know the names, we buy the jerseys. You even got Bay Area rap songs that call their names out and represent their numbers. And then they turn around and cut them off and get someone that we don't know. Okay. So I think that we could stop talking. And then it makes it seem like we're always targeting Black players, let's get rid of them. Well, let's get rid of some of them other ones too. Just get rid of some of the other ones that could make a kick, or someone that keeps slipping and falling, or someone who just got out there and did one little play and then they went back and sat down the whole time. They just wasn't really a factor,
Yeah, wait,
And
I mean, wait a second. I hear what you're saying, but there's nobody is calling out black players versus white players. I mean,
I'm
most
not
of the
saying black player
most of the
versus white
players,
players.
yeah, most of the
Mr.
players
Kruger,
on the team
I'm
are.
I'm saying
are
I've been
black.
listening to a lot of people talk,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
and I'm not
I
going to make it about a race thing, but I'm going to
Yeah.
say this.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to
I-
say this as a mature young lady as I can, okay?
Okay.
I've watched people call out these players and they're black players, and they're talking about trading ones who helped make the team to where it went. And I feel like that's not fair. It's not fair. Now,
But
if you're
don't
gonna
you
call
think
out some
that
black
people
players,
are calling? Don't you think people are calling out guys like Colton McKivitz and
I've never heard that name. That's what I'm saying. I'm
Oh.
always hearing Ayuk and Debo,
Okay.
and I
Well,
have
there's a lot
not.
of talk about Ayuk. I appreciate you calling in, but I wasn't necessarily saying that they should trade Ayuk or Debo. I was just posing it as a potential, just discussion point. I think you keep both of them. I think that you wait till next season and figure out what you're going to do with Ayuk and Debo. That's honestly my opinion.
If they can help it, they should do absolutely nothing. They need to find someone that can work with them, and we need the best formula. We need to bring that back again, just like you did. And I'm sorry to bring up the past, but I've seen what was going on in the past, and I hate that they broke up that team, because I thought we was going to go back to the Super Bowl again for another year if they would have kept half those players. That did work. It was so fun watching them whoop ass. Like,
Are you
for real, like,
talking about
2019 or
Are
2012?
you talking about Harbaugh's team, or are you talking about the
yeah, I'm
last?
talking about
championship?
Harbaugh's team. I'm talking about
Yeah.
Steve Mariucci team. They need to apologize to Steve Mariucci, bring his ass back, and let him be a defensive coordinator. I just think the way they did Steve Mariucci was hell and wrong. And I'm still hurt by that. I was still hurt by that. Even
It was
for
a bad
him to sit
decision.
there and
It was
say
it
he
was a
would take
terrible decision. I mean,
it was a
they,
terrible.
yeah, they got rid of Mariucci. They brought in Dennis Erickson. I mean,
right.
that was.
That and I'm gonna tell you something. I felt like a glass. I felt like someone threw a glass and broke the mirror and got rid 7 bad years bad luck. That's why I felt like it happened. And we don't want that again. You see what I'm saying? But what I can say is, let's start off with this defense. Now, I feel like we could do a better job with the defense. Defense to me wasn't all that they should have been. Like, I'm used to seeing defense whoop your ass. They did better in the Super Bowl, but prior to the Super Bowl, they was letting too much happen. They was letting balls get by them. That's like, to me, where they fell at, they need to look at some past films, like some Patrick Willis films and some Dante Hittner films, and look at how they, you got to learn how to smell where that ball's coming if you're going to be a defense, so you could be that monster. You ain't going nowhere. I know where that ball going. Throw that ball to him and watch what happens. So you got to have that attitude. And that's how Patrick Willis was. He wasn't playing that mess. If you look at a lot of his films, he wasn't playing. Alden and Justice Smith together wasn't playing. They was kicking. Look, you couldn't get by them. Very seldom you get by them. And I love the chemistry when they all came to it. Now, those politics and stuff getting involved, it's just messing everything up, because it got fans thinking the way politicians thinking. Now, they thinking money, but we forget the fact that people feel things. They hurt. They love this football team. Now, let's talk about these damn replacements, these coordinator replacements, right? Defensive coordinator replacements. I hate that they bring up some people who just got fired and lost their jobs. Didn't some of these damn football coaches and assistant coaches didn't like the Niners? So why would they want to come and sign with the team that they don't even like? Like, I'm to be honest.
Who would you like to see?
Well, be honest with you, they need to bring back someone that they should have never got rid of. Now, I get the Steve Wilks situation. I don't know him that well, because I've been missing an action on a couple of years of watching the 49ers. I was glad Greg Roman left. I think that's what took a lot out of me. I wanted Greg Roman to just go, for real. But Steve Wilks, I didn't understand. Maybe he just didn't have the right formula or the right chemistry. I wouldn't necessarily accuse him of causing a team to not win the Super Bowl, I wouldn't do that. And let's talk about the front office and who's in charge of making a major decision, because it can't always be on the coaches. It can't be on the coaches. You can't be everything always on the players. It's the people who make the decisions because they want the money. Number one, the front office too goddamn cheap. You got to stop being cheap. You got to be worth what you are. If you're ready and go, you're ready and goddamn go. We got to go Niner bang bang. We have to go. We can't be bust. We got to be bang bang. And you got to find someone who kick ass and ready to go. Now, if you want to negotiate a contract and say, hey, you know what? I want us to make it to the Super Bowl. We'll promise you a better pay. Could you please take a pay cut, but stay with the team because you're that goddamn valuable. The fans love you. And that's what they need to start doing. And so they can start, because you have ex-49ers that wanted to stay and retire a Niner, and they couldn't do it. They cut them off. And some of them was so, because I can tell, some of them was so angry that they had to leave the Niners that when they was sent to go play for the Carolina Panthers, when they was going to go to play for the Oakland, did you think Aldon Smith was going to suit up for Oakland Raiders? He said, fuck the Raiders. He didn't want to fucking play for the Raiders. He wanted to stay with the Niners. And he got played. I don't care. This politician, and then they admit that they lied on Aldon. It's like, it's too goddamn late. You done sat there. Y'all keep playing with my team like that. So I look at it like this. And last but not least, how we lost that game is because our quarterback didn't defer. Okay, he should have deferred. That would have been anybody's game on this one. He should have deferred the play. Okay,
in overtime.
And then
You're talking about Kyle, not Purdy, right?
When we talking about you mean Kyle Shanahan told him to take the ball?
Right. You wanted to defer.
Yeah, well, we needed it to be deferred. Okay, the fans, we know how this goes. Regardless, it shouldn't be people that dumb how to play. I've watched the NFL for a long time, and I watched how most of the time we deferred. So I don't understand how, he didn't know that, but we should have deferred. Okay, because guess what happened? That Kansas City Chief, the one my daughter said looked like and sounded like Kermit the Frog, he sat there and took a goddamn page book out of Colin Kaepernick and started floating, and he got us some yards. And I wish he would have fucking ran. I wish our quarterback should have ran. Don't tell Larry to hang up on me, you little damn hater. You must be a Cowboy fan. Go back and cry about your damn Cowboys. All right. But Larry, I'm telling you, I just think he took a goddamn page book and ran and got them yards enough to give them the win. And that's what I'm saying. We didn't freaking run. And to me, if you stay in the pockets too goddamn long, that's where you get sacked. That's where you get hurt. Yeah, that's where you panic. You can't go no damn where. It's where you throw the ball and throw interceptions because you ain't moving. You got to start moving just in case you got a break. Just in case you got to get us that damn yards.
Tanjon, did you hear the beginning of the show?
No, I just happened to walk in and seen that I just got off another live stream on something else that was juicy and gossipy, and after that left, and yours just popped up on my live stream, and I was like, "Ooh, Larry True going about the Niners, what's up?" So
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
I had to get up on there.
Hey, Tanjon, are you Bay Area or are you other part of the country?
I'm Bay Area all day. I'm Bay Area all day. I'm originally from San Francisco, from the Mo.
Okay,
I'm from
there you go. There you go. Well,
EPA.
Okay. Where'd you go to school in the city?
I went to Roosevelt. Well, I went to Roosevelt Middle School. I went to and then I went to Lincoln High. Then I transferred to George Washington High School. And
there you go. Well, I grew up 10 blocks from Lincoln. I grew up on Rivera. Yeah, Rivera and the avenues, 35th and Rivera.
I love
72 on.
Yeah, I used to love to get on that train and go all the way down there to Sloten and just walk down to the malls down there. I just want to walk. I love to walk, and I'm in athleticism too. So, but I do want to say this.
I love your vibe. I love your vibe. Promise me this, because this is the first time you've ever called in. Promise me that if you catch me on YouTube that you'll call back in.
I definitely will. You and Mr. Bueller looking like Bueller's Day Off. Look at your son.
That's my kid. That's my kid.
Yeah, that's right. I know. I can see. I can see. I am going to drop down, but I do want to say this. I want to say this before I drop down.
Yep.
I think they should start studying the defensive playbooks, regardless of who they get. They need to watch out who really don't really care for the Niners. If you want a paycheck, but you don't really love the Niners like that because you played against us and you still got some animosity towards us, don't come and take a job for our team. Let someone else who's worth it. And I still say they need to go and find Steve Mariucci and dig him out the grave and say, hey,
he's still alive. He's still alive. He's still alive.
But we need to get him out the cave and tell him,
He's
hey,
not
we
dead.
need you to come and be a defensive coordinator. We're gonna give you 5 years, defensive coordinator. You got this. And I'm gonna tell you one more thing I used to love about Steve Mariucci. I'm gonna drop
Go
down.
for it. Go
I
for
used
it.
to love every time they threw a flag on us. They couldn't cheat us off no damn penalties because he threw a red one. Like, yeah, I'm gonna challenge that call. And he always win. I think he lost one time, but he won most of those times. Boy, we used to love when he pulled out that red handkerchief and threw it out there. Like, I'm gonna counter that. You better check again.
Tanjon, I would normally say you're good radio, but this is not radio. This is YouTube. You're damn good
I know.
YouTube. Call us back again. Call us back again. We appreciate you jumping in, and I love your fire. I love your fire.
Bang, bang, Niner game. Talk to you later.
There you go. That was special. That was special.
There was a minute there where she was rapping for like 5 minutes. I feel like she hit every topic that we could possibly talk about.
She called you Ferris Bueller.
I know.
Stride
Oh my
abide.
God, Tanjon. Oh my God, that was an amazing call. That's the best call-in I have ever heard in my life. Tanjon, if you get a channel, girl, I will subscribe. And Larry, Grant, Jesse, Coach, Ryan, y'all better be nervous right now because if she gets her own channel, she's taking over all the Niner content.
we got this. Sean Turner says Larry's a Tanjon fanboy.
Oh yeah, big time. Oh yeah, big time. Dude, they're just gonna start calling you LFB, Larry Fanboy. That's what it's
Oh,
gonna
my
be,
God.
dude. By the way, dude, mad respect for just checking that guy hard. I see that from you about 3 times a year. I watch every day, listen while I'm working, and about 3 times a year, you just lose it. You just go straight Michael Douglason falling down where you've had enough.
Oh man.
Yeah, you
and,
just.
and you know, some people like it. A lot of people say, you know what, I'll never listen to you again. There was there was one guy in here. Where was it?
So real quick,
Listen,
I'm over.
look at this one.
Oh
Look
yeah,
at this
go
one.
ahead.
Hope
go
springs
ahead.
eternal. Larry has serious anger issues. This is the last time I will watch him.
Oh my God, dude! You have to have a little bit of balance too. When you're in that position as a content creator, you're constantly having people throw shit at you. There's only so much you can take before it's time to bark back. Who cares? I respected everything. Here's the bottom line. My 2 cents on it, and then I want to get to some topics. My 2 cents on it is this: you're actual respected journalists in your field, have been for not just years but decades at this point. You actually get one-on-one interviews with the players. You're one of the few people that's actually allowed by the most powerful sports entity on the planet is the National Football League. And they allow you to ask the coach and the players questions at the press conference. That's a very select few people. I'm sure there are tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people that wish they had that kind of access, that don't have that kind of access, and you do. I like the way you ask tough questions. Like Grant asks his tough questions, but it's a little bit too combative for my taste. And I listen to Grant every day. I like Grant. His perspective pisses me off sometimes, but he does know his stuff.
I would not be here if Grant did not show me the way. So
I know your guys' history. And here's the thing. I know your guys' history because, again, I listen and watch every day. And I support Grant's channel. I listen to him. But you can have respectful disagreement. And I think that that's something in the fan discourse that we've all kind of lost is whatever happened is just respectful difference of opinion. You know, I feel like that people have gotten away from that. So I just appreciate you checking that guy. And Tanjon, I will totally like and subscribe if you get a channel. So hey, couple of topics. First of all, can I give a quick little post Super Bowl therapy session. I need. Okay, so couple thoughts. For the last 4 years, the down and distance 3rd and 15 has haunted 49er fans, right? And now we get to add 3rd and 4 to that list.
Oh, God.
We sat 3rd and 4. So I feel like there is an alternate universe somewhere out there where Trent Williams and Kyle and George Kittle block for CMC, and the three of them collectively get to make up for their mistakes in the Super Bowl, and CMC gets 5 yards. We run down the clock, kick the field goal, and win. And how can you not run to the left, what's been working for you all year? You know, I could have lived with us losing if we'd have called 2 straight run plays behind Kittle, Juszczyk, and Trent with CMC running and just go hard left 2 straight plays. Thoughts?
In what, in overtime you talking about, or on 3rd down?
On 3rd down when we could in regulation when we could have just run out the clock. Yeah, we could have just run out the clock right there.
I mean, it's 3rd and 4. You know what I was kind of secretly hoping for? I was hoping for kind of that Philadelphia Eagles mindset, which is you run on 3rd and 4, and then you get to 4th and whatever, and you just push. You just go for it, because the first down, you had 2 downs to make 4 yards, and why would you? To me, it was. I mean, think about it. Your options there are, if you get the first down, you might not have to give the ball back to Mahomes at all.
Exactly my point.
I just didn't. To me, to kick the field goal there, and how much time did Mahomes have right there?
He had $1:50 left because we didn't run the ball. And even if we had another point to that, had we have run
make them
on 3rd down, make them burn a timeout, because they needed almost all that time to be able to get down there, if you recall.
Yes.
And if they'd had 1 less timeout, it would have made it that much more difficult.
Yeah.
It's the difference between going. It's like Steve Young said in your interview. Championships are ripped from bloody hands.
Yes.
And that's what Kyle should have been thinking. I need to rip this Super Bowl out of Andy Reid's bloody hands.
Steve said, you don't win Super Bowls. You rip them out of bloody hands.
Bloody hands.
And in reality, what Kyle did there, kicking the field goal, was winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
The ripping it from bloody hands was to run it on 3rd, run it on 4th, get that first down, and then if Mahomes gets the ball back, he gets it back with like 35 seconds.
35 seconds, exactly. And the way our defense was playing, you can say what you want about Steve Wilks and the call in Minnesota and not being a perfect fit. He had that defense ready to play that day. I was so proud of our defense.
Which is another reason why the Wilks firing is a little like, you better get somebody freaking great, because your defense played their asses off in the bowl. Now, they kind of came apart a little bit late. They gave up too much late. But, man, at the beginning of that game, they were ready.
But don't you believe that's a product of our offense not having sustained drives? I believe that the defense wearing down at the end is a product of us not being able to have sustained drives on offense. One hand feeds the other. If we could have had even just one more sustained drive on offense, given our defense a little bit more time to rest, they proved they could go out there and win. I mean, they picked off Mahomes. They got 2 turnovers and held the great Patrick Mahomes to 19 points in regulation. The defense did their job.
You know, I said it a month.
The Chiefs came off of a 12-play drive and then an 11-play drive coming into overtime.
Yeah.
Because our offense had too many quick drives, 3 and outs.
I said it with a month to go in the regular season. I said the 49ers will not win this Super Bowl without Dre Greenlaw. They didn't have Dre Greenlaw. They didn't win the Super Bowl. If they had Dre Greenlaw, I think they would have won the Super Bowl.
I completely agree. Travis Kelce in the first half had one catch, and that was a product of Greenlaw and Warner. And I think that really did matter. I agree with you completely.
Yeah.
On that point, people better be careful regarding giving you too much shit about your call for Belichick as a defensive coordinator. The first time I heard you say it, even I was like, Larry, I love you, dude, but that's a little far fetched. But then I thought back, I'm like, everyone thought you were a little bit nuts for saying this little like short quarterback out of Iowa State was going to make the team. And then he did, and they became Brock Purdy. Everyone thought you were nuts when you said the 49ers are going to trade Trey Lance, and then they did. So I started going, wait a minute, how fun would it be? Because at this point, I just want something fun to watch, and I think it would be so fun to see Bill Belichick as our defensive coordinator this year. It would be exciting television. I'll say that much.
Oh, my God. It would be incredible. It'd be incredible. And I actually think it's the best move for if Bill Belichick really wants to win those games necessary to be the number one winning head coach of all time, he should take the DC job here. Because if he takes the DC job here, they'll climb to the top of the mountain. He'll get a good coaching gig. He'll get that award. To me, I think history will shine brightly on Bill Belichick if he takes this DC job. I really believe it. I think they'll win. I think people will notice that he minimized his ego and took a second job. I mean, he's already a made man. He's already firmly established. If he helps Shanahan get this Super Bowl, this elusive number 6. I think history will reflect very kindly on Bill Belichick. I really do.
I agree. It'll add to his legacy. And there's one more component of this. It would be a chance to knock Andy Reid off that pedestal, almost like a preemptive strike, because Andy's coming for Bill's record.
Yeah, well, that's another one. That's another way. That's a great. No, that is a great point. Hey, Stride Abides, we got to get to Gary Lamb, but we appreciate you, brother.
Hey, appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Stride.
Appreciate you. Is it time for Gary Lamb? Gary, how are you?
Hey, the Niners lost the Super Bowl, and between you and Tanjan, it was very cathartic for me. So you gave me some healing. But before I get into the off season, which is again already filled with drama, one day it's going to catch up with us. But Tanjan brought up a good point. I noticed that the Chiefs respected Purdy by putting a spy on him, and I was dying for the Niners to spy with Greenlaw. Like, imagine Greenlaw in your case all day, you're going to make a mistake, right? And I think the reason why I didn't run, because they respected him, and Purdy's quick, but he's not as quick as Gay, the linebacker. So that was the difference, okay? But off season, how much drama can we withstand? We got to handle this DC thing quickly. We got to get Ayuk signed, and we got to get an impact player in the draft. We should have learned with Bosa. Maybe Bosa not being in camp cost Steve Wilks' job. And whoever the DC is going to be, I like Ulbrich. I like Jeff Ulbrich. I like that name. Because why would his name be out there if he wasn't available, right? Right. But getting Belichick, hell yeah. Hey, when the Lakers brought in Phil Jackson, did they care he had so many titles with the Bulls? No. Our goal is a Super Bowl. We can't have Prag Marate.
Johnny True says Gary's got a shiner. Gary, what do you
Nothing. No good story.
Allergies.
Allergies.
All right.
Allergies. All right. So
Gary, I have another question.
Yes, bring it on.
Do you have like a cage full of birds in your room?
Okay. You know what? So I'm a therapist, so I always have like ambient music or what it sounds, so I can just chill. So I'm like, sometimes believe it or not, I can get a little hype, right? So I'm trying to stay chill, right?
The birds are bringing you down.
They're just
mellowing you out. Yeah.
I'm trying to stay mellow, and I'm trying to just hit the one in the middle. I don't want to be too down on the Niners, and I want to be too hyped. Like you were in like Tony Montana, Gary Radnish mode, Larry, and I love it. And it was who called out Chase Young? Who called out Shanahan about the culture? Who said Trey Lance was getting traded? You. That's who, Larry. Right.
There you go.
But the thing is, last year
it wasn't my finest moment, but sometimes I just got to let it go.
But Larry, I'm. Our goal is a Super Bowl. The 49ers have a hell of a formula. It's working. No one's going to jail. We have a consistent system that gets us where we need to be, right? We need consistency. That's why everyone in Kyle Shanahan's team, they always play hard. Someone comes in and they don't the Chase Youngs don't play as hard, right? The Jimmy Garoppolos just don't go as hard for the team. So yeah, there's something great about this culture, something great about the 49ers. It's all good, right? But this culture that I don't like is, okay, Parag Maratha, you're probably doing something good. The reason why we're keeping all these guys, we're making, we're paying everybody whatever. But you squeeze a quarter to the Eagle screams, and just like we already learned from Bosa, there was just something wasn't right. We're lucky with all the drama going in to last season, with all the Trey Lance stuff. Is he trading? Is he going to go? Thank God Brock Purdy, didn't miss a day at training camp, but he missed all the offseason. With this offseason, we don't need this. We need to get Brandon Ayuk signed by training camp. He's really the only receiver that really gets open. Who knows? That's what he does. He gets open. There's only guy with chemistry with Purdy. We need this because anything else is too much of a variable. It's like the Giants, like not having, if everything breaks right, we're going to be great. Like hit 100, win 170 games like the Giants. But most of the time, it's not. So we
if everything breaks right for the Giants, they're going to win 78 games.
Yeah, exactly. We finally got a 6th place hitter in Soler. Great job. He might hit 28. And
Are you kidding me? That's my favorite guy on the whole team.
I like him. But he's a 5th place hitter. We don't got a 3rd or a 4th. And who else is there? Like
Lamont Wade is batting 3rd. He's your star hitter.
I can't. I don't want to go into. But I think we got it.
Let's not go into it. We'll lose the rest of the chat.
But I would love. Okay, the best case scenario if Kyle hired an OC, but that's not going to happen. That's his baby. But I think it does do. If we get a Belichick, I love the way you're thinking. We got to go big. We're the 49ers. It's like Joe Lacob is showing Joe Lacob, he's got to go down like Eddie DeBartolo sooner or later because he brought in Kevin Durant. He fired Steve Jackson when the Warriors they're in the playoffs looking good. You got to go big. And that's where, we are kind of the 49ers are NFC Championship game elite. We got to get to the next level. We got to have another, whoever the defensive coordinator is going to be, they're going to have to win over Bosa and Warner because it just seems like that relationship with Steve Wilks. I like Steve Wilks. He seemed like a cool guy to me, but he felt like a middle manager because Kyle didn't quite trust him and the players didn't quite trust him. And it's just like it wasn't a good deal. So, do you know what I mean? So the poor guy was doomed to failure. So whoever this guy's going to be.
There were reports. Now, I don't know if they're true because I never saw this. But there were reports that there were a number of 49er players that got frustrated with Wilks at different times. I never saw that. I'm just reporting what I've been told or what I've read. I'm just kind of repeating it. But I'll say this. I like Steve Wilks. I thought Steve Wilks was thoroughly competent. I liked that his defense came out just on fire in the Super Bowl. But it wasn't he's not here not because of the Super Bowl.
Right.
He's not here because the coverage, which he called, did not match the rush plan that he also called. So when your rush plan doesn't match, and is not wed to your coverage, and you speed up a quarterback and then you play soft coverage behind it, we saw it in the Cincinnati game. We saw it in the Minnesota game. We saw it in the playoffs a couple times, a handful of times in all 3 games. There were times where the coverage on the back end did not match the rush plan up front. And that you can't have. You can't have it once. And they had it probably happened 15 to 20 times this year. To me, if you say, what is the reason that he was fired? That's the reason.
Larry, when it came down to it, Steve Wilks played soft. Kyle made stupid decisions, but in the NFL, it's better to be stupid than be soft. And that's why Steve Wilks is gone. And he did. And he didn't quite. Just something did. I didn't say they didn't like him, but it felt like Bosa and Warner, the main top guys, there was just something not going. It's probably exactly what you said, and Warner was worn out, and as soon as Dre Greenlaw was gone, we had nobody else. All right, I would love to see our Winters or Graham play a little bit, but we never play them.
That was a mistake as well. They did not bring those linebackers along,
and they were
leaned
tired.
Too much.
Our guys were tired. It didn't make. I hate making Wilkes the fall guy because he had the it was his choice to take the job. But when you have a family, do you really have a choice? You're gonna be the defensive coordinator of the 49ers. Is that really a choice? You're gonna go. Do you think they're gonna have your back? They didn't. So there's a fun. Mentally, it's like this is a good move, but in my heart, it's just like something's not right. It just feels weird. So I think you're right. Hey, Belichick, Pete Carroll, I would give me a big shot. I love the Ulbrich idea. I don't think it's out of the question because why is his name out there? Why? Give that assistant coach. I would do that. But I gotta say again, Ayuk, what more do you want? We can't wait around. We already had the Bosa fiasco. Maybe if Bosa's there in training camp, a lot of top people they have to guard their ego. They want to blame someone else for them not doing well. Maybe everyone just need to blame Wilkes. Okay, that's just I'm not. He didn't make the right calls.
Some people feel that Wilkes was scapegoated. I personally just
I don't think so.
I said it a month before the season ended. I said if they don't win, Steve's not coming back.
Someone's head had to roll.
Yeah, I mean, was he a scapegoat? I don't know. I would say his issue was the head coach lost confidence. And if the head coach loses confidence, you're on borrowed time. Gary, we got to jump, but
I got to say one more thing. Yeah.
Once again,
yeah, thank you.
The black eye is really – it wasn't Gary Lamb fighting one of the birds. It wasn't Gary Lamb getting drunk and fighting somebody over the Super Bowl.
No.
It was allergies.
Allergies. But I gotta say, you're right, Larry. We got to get a guy. So Kyle Shanahan doesn't have to think about this. He just has too much on his plate, and he's just like sometimes he's a genius with no common sense, and she's taking on too much. So that's it. Bang bang, Niner gang. We got a good team.
Gary, I got one more question.
Bring it on, Gary. Bring on, Larry.
Larry.
Yeah, let me tell you, Gary and Larry back in the day.
Sean Turner, bro, you have stickers on your hat. Why do you have stickers on your hat, Gary?
So back in the old days, when I was at Kevin's age, we used to do that. So that was just I don't know.
Have you seen the Key and Peele comedy skit where they leave the hat in the clear bag and wear it on top of their head? It's a brand new hat. It doesn't just have the receipt and the stickers. It has all of it, and it's inside of a clear bag, and he's wearing it. It's awesome.
That's a great, You got
to check it out.
I don't have the guts for that, but just I'm nostalgic, Gary. All right, hey, I love
Larry,
you guys.
It's Larry.
Hey, Kevin, you know what?
You're
Kevin,
Gary.
Larry,
I'm Larry.
Gary. It doesn't matter
I'm
what
Kevin.
your name is. No.
Gary,
Hey, I love you guys, man. Until next time, man. Keep it up.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Gary Lamb, everybody. Scudo YT, leave that guy alone.
I think
Jeff Porter, Key and Peele is awesome.
I think the birds worked because I remember last time I think Gary was a little bit more amped up. This time he seemed a little bit more relaxed.
Last time his volume was high. All right, let's hit the starred chats, and they should be good.
You probably should have hit these earlier.
I know, seriously. I apologize. I made some mistakes in this stream. Things did not go particularly well all the way through. Was it a good show? Was it a bad show?
Was it interesting? Yes.
Have we ruined some of our relationships?
We will see.
We'll see. Sometimes I think Grant is going to be cool. Dave, I don't know. Baggage Claim 916 says, would you change the defensive scheme if you could? What do you think of that? Do you like the wide 9? What do you think, Kev?
I think you keep it. I mean, you've invested all these pieces into it, right? I mean, you've taught all your players this scheme. I feel like switching it up. I mean, it depends. It depends who walks through the door. Depends if you hire some minor coach.
That would be my answer too. If you get Belichick and he wants to run a 3-4, then you run the 3-4.
Yeah, the person who's changing the scheme has to, like Kyle said, if they're gonna change the scheme, they have to tell me why. And I think tell me why means you have to fucking deserve to change the scheme.
Who's the boy band that sang "Tell Me Why"?
Ain't nothing but
Gizmo Maltese. We should give Belichick
it's
a shot at
Backstreet
head.
Boys.
Backstreet Boys. Thank you, Backstreet. I got to say right now, I don't think any of those Backstreet Boys were actually from the Backstreet. They seem like more like mall boys than Backstreet.
Dan John says, "Ew."
Tan John, you were a star tonight. Gizmo Maltese. We should give Belichick a shot at head coach. This team is ready to win. It's a perfect situation for Belichick. We need to make a bold move. Call me crazy. I'm a Shanahan fanboy. What can I say? I'd say no, but I hear the reasoning. Gold Tau, guaranteed dollars should be matched with incentive dollars. That's interesting. More incentives. Laura Taylor, Debo was looking a little chunky in the Super Bowl. I know he had issues getting in shape a while ago. More weight will slow him down. I just hope he gets it together. I think Debo was playing with either like a torn rotator cuff or some very serious injury shoulder-wise. He didn't look like he had the same flexibility to reach for the football. I saw Debo all year. I think Debo's a warrior. I would
like to know what his ideal playing weight is and what the 49ers training staff thinks.
That's a good point. Maybe 218, 215, something like that. He's probably at
'Cause
225.
he is kind of like one of those guys where it's like if he's not working out, he's putting on weight kind of.
I know.
person.
He was really light and fast in camp, but I agree he did look a little slower later in the year. He's a hell of a player, though. Big Dog says, Larry, bring in the high heat. Love it. There you go. Ron Holder, Larry and Kev, this is a perfect opportunity for a new shirt. I ain't no effing fanboy. Kev, can we make a new shirt?
Should I just make sure this says fanboy on the back?
Shanny fanboy. And just have all kinds of F-bombs beneath it.
We'll see when the dust settles. If we still want to make a shirt.
It might be time for us to make a new shirt. By the way, tell people where they can get the shirts, Kev. Because
TheKrugshow.com.
Krugshow.com.
TheKrugshow.com.
TheKrugshow.com.
Mm-hmm.
Keeper says, Larry, you're the Jim Harbaugh of 49er media. Keep it up.
What does that mean?
44-19-1. I'll take it. But, that also means I call timeouts at the wrong time. Laura Taylor, Larry, because of you, I continue to gain more and more knowledge and insight into football. As a female in love with the sport, thank you for your authenticity and time. You rock.
That's awesome.
Laura, that makes me feel really good. Hey, by the way, I just wanted to tell you guys, I hooked up a killer segment next week. I told you guys all throughout the playoffs that my friend is Nick Allegretti. And Nick Allegretti played in the Super Bowl at left guard because Joe Thuney was out. Nick Allegretti is going to join me for a half hour or an hour on the show next week.
Oh, sick.
So we're going to have...
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, we're going to have the great Nick Allegretti from the Chiefs. And he's going to be with us. It's going to be next Thursday at 9:30 in the morning, 11:30 Central, where he is, 9:30 Pacific, and
cool.
He's just a good dude. And he said I sent him a note. He said, "What's up, Larry? Thank you. I'm not sure," because I had said, "Hey, man, this is what I sent him a note." I said, "Nick, as a Niner fan, it hurts me to say this, but congrats on your Super Bowl 58 victory. If the Niners couldn't win, I'm really glad that you got a ring and a Super Bowl start too. Proud of you, bro. You've carved out a nice NFL career for yourself. I'd love to see you sign out here this March 49ers could really use a tough, smart, dedicated offensive lineman like yourself going forward. I know you may be busy, but could we possibly do a segment again on the show and talk ball? And he said, "What's up, Larry? Thank you. I'm not sure why, but it's felt like you've been in my corner since our first interview, and I've always appreciated it. I'd love to jump on the show." And then we set up the time. So
you are a Nick Allegretti fanboy.
I am a Nick Allegretti fanboy, and I will own it. But you know what? I think that's going to be a really interesting interview because we're going to get a chance to talk about, what the Chiefs thought of the Niners, what he thought of the Niners defensive line's effort and intensity, like Mahomes said. Nick also, I believe, had the Brock Purdy injury in the second quarter of the game and played the rest of the game with a torn UCL in the elbow. So this guy, and he's a wrestler, and he went to played for the Illini. Great guy. So he's going to be by next Thursday at 9:30 in the morning. Looking forward to that. Whale and Wasp. Larry, what is your thoughts on Cedric Gray and Javon Bullard in round 2 and 3? I love Cedric Gray. In fact, most of the mock drafts that I'm doing, and I'm not sure if Kev, did the mock draft that you put out for me, did it have Cedric Gray in it? Do you know?
It did.
So maybe Whale.
Is that the UNC linebacker?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's awesome, man. He's awesome. Cedric Gray would be my pick in the second or third round for sure. He is one of the safest picks in this draft. I'll study Bullard more and get back to you on that one. But Cedric Gray from North Carolina, 235, tackling machine. The guy's had 130 tackles like 3 years in a row. I love him. Looked great in the Senior Bowl. Was playing super hard in the last minute of the fourth quarter in the Senior Bowl in Mobile a couple weeks back. I love me some Cedric Gray. That would be my pick to replace Greenlaw, at least in the short term. Alex, is Luke McCaffrey. Are you going through
the star chats or are you going through the regular chat?
Well, I get a couple that a couple regulars as well. Luke McCaffrey and Brendan Rice, the future. Pay your guys. I do like those two guys. I like Brendan Rice even more. Keeping the faith. Would love to hear Larry's take on certain content creators, or at least the ones he doesn't like. We'll save that. Mike Monahan. Larry on the hot mic. Think he is going to regret his references to other podcasters. Not sure what they had to do with anything. Mike, I don't regret it. I'll just say that. Milky Moon. Larry, I love your channel, but sup, you threw Grant and his dad under the bus pretty harsh. I mean, get crazy, rants, and even worse, his fans, but still. I got nothing but love for Grant and his dad. Too much sauce. Did Greenlaw hurt his calf and Achilles earlier in the season? Yes, he did. Prior to the Super Bowl. Maybe the tendon could have survived just a little longer if he hadn't showboated. I'm not going to question that. I did talk to Dre Thursday night before the Super Bowl, and I asked him, I said, physically, how are you? And you know what? I was expecting him to say, hey, man, 2 weeks off. I'm feeling fresh. I'm feeling good. He didn't say that. He's like, he gave me that look like, I hope I can get to the finish line. He knew that he was compromised going into that game. And it's sad. It's sad because if he had finished that game, who knows? Maybe things would have been different. Michael Alanis, they are actually called allergy shiners. No joke. Oh, okay. So there you go.
Learn something new.
We learned something new. All right, that is going to do it for us. Kev, you got a final comment? There was people in here that said, then we get this one from JC Montana. He says, Larry disagrees with their football takes, but he sure does love the Cones. Oh, yeah. First of all, I'll say it one more time. There's football talk, and then there's life. And football talk is just that. It's football talk. Life means more than football talk. Football talk is just that. When I was at my lowest point, Grant took time, made me feel good, pumped me up, showed me the way. Lowell is just a solid guy that I've known forever. I realize that they have strong takes. I don't even know all of their takes because I haven't heard everything they said. But they have strong takes. I have strong takes. We don't always agree. I don't think that Shanahan should be fired. It sounds like, based on what I heard about their show this week, that maybe they do. So we don't agree on football all the time. But Grant's a great guy, no matter what anybody tells you. Lowell is a terrific guy. Lowell has been through a lot this year. They both have. And we've all, I've lost both my parents in the last couple of years. Lowell lost his wife. Grant lost his mom. Those guys reached out to me and treated me well. And, I get nothing but respect for both of those guys. And I wish nothing but good things for them. So.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's the same thing. It's like, don't hate the person for their take, but you can hate the take all you want, right?
Right.
I mean, that's how it should be.
Monty says, I watch Larry, Grant, and Lombardi. And Dave and I go way back to Stanford, games on KMBR 1050 when he was a Stanford student. Nothing but respect for Dave. We don't go about it the same way, but his content is stellar. And I've told him that to his face. Monty, but what does it say? I fuck
with the Crew Show the most.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thanks for fucking with us. And your boy PK Man OG, Mr. Larry, your Farhan video is awesome. Can you get Ned Coletti on? I will. Is he referring to the Farhan video I just did?
I don't know. I put out a clip from your show with Damon, and I put out the video today that you did about the state of the Giants.
I'm so disappointed in Farhan and the way he's run my Giants. And I think I could do a better job than he does. I really do. Jay Avery, thank you so much. Loving the show. Great convos.
All right.
That does it. That does it for us. Tomorrow is Thursday. So tomorrow on the show or on the channel, we're going to do some videos. I'm also going to be doing a live stream with Jesse and with Vish. And I'm hoping Vish I know's got issues with his channel, but hopefully he can join us. But that's going to be tomorrow night at roughly 6:30 tomorrow night. I want to go see my son play varsity baseball against Marin Catholic, but I'm also coaching my littlest son, and so I won't be able to go watch that. Giants pitchers and catchers report tomorrow, but tomorrow we will have big show with Jesse and Vish, probably from like 6:30 to 8:30, somewhere around there. And then tomorrow night, late night, we go back to our Warriors post games. We haven't done Warrior post games because I've been so, up in the Niners situation. But tomorrow night, Ryan Smith, Bay Area Baller, Frank Red, Carl Foster, Big Cy from Locked On, Danny. We're gonna Warriors Lakers tomorrow night. We're gonna do a post game tomorrow night. First Warriors post game maybe of the year. I don't think we did one early. So I just want to let everybody know that's coming up tomorrow night. Warriors Lakers post game. So me, Jesse, and Vish at 6:30, and roughly 9:30 we'll go live for a couple hours talking Warriors Lakers and a little basketball. And then on Friday at 8:30, we'll have our wake up show with Damon Bruce at 10:45. Chase Senior. And then 9 a.m. on Saturday with the coach. The coach streams have been fucking awesome. So, and we have somebody in here saying Mark Graves says Big Frank is awesome. Oh yeah. And Carl's great too. I love Carl. I haven't talked to Carl in a while, but Frank and I are boys from way back. So, and me and Carl are as well. So, and it's like I try to get the football crowd and the football crowd and the basketball crowd and the basketball crowd. Some of these guys, I have on both shows, but I really am looking forward to Cyrus and Carl and Frank and Baller and talking some Warrior Hoop. And then check us out on Saturday morning with with the coach. The coach is, me and the coach, we kind of went at it and we battled. And then, we kind of got together off mic and off air and just kind of talked life. And he told me about himself and I told him about me. And I think some of the stuff that we're doing with Coach on Saturdays, Kev, is just awesome. Just absolutely awesome. Big Money Music says coach is blowing up. He's growing on me. Didn't like a lot of his takes early on, but lately he's been in his bag. It's not just about his takes. It's his energy and his passion. Because I don't always agree with his takes even now. And he doesn't always agree with mine. But we have a common ground. There's mutual respect. And some of the best, liveliest streams, I thought he was exceptional with the fire that he brought after
he's growing fast. He's growing fast.
He is. And we got this one from Whale and Wasp. He says, I think that Giant content just hurts your soul, Larry. I'll talk Giants this year, but you know what? I can't talk Giants without crapping on them. And there's so many people in the Giant Reddit that just hate me. I'm like literally the way some Niner fans hate Grant. There's lots of Giants fans out there that just hate me. And it's because I will not give Farhan a break. I will not give the Giants a break. They bought their team in 1992 for $100 million. It's worth $3.7 billion. So don't tell me about their budget. Go get Bellinger.
And there's a whole video on that today on the Crew Show. Yeah, I titled it "The State of the SF Giants."
And then Aunt D says, "I need to see Larry and Kevin get in a heated debate." We really don't. I went
off camera on the phone sometimes. We get heated.
But who's yelling at who?
Me at you.
Yeah. This kid yells at me. I just want everybody to take a good long gander at Kevin Kruger, Mr. Cal Poly over here, within his red room. This kid yells at his own father.
Only when I need to. When I need to.
He yells at his own father. And Jay Avery hears that and says, here's a 20 spot super sticker.
What is a super sticker?
It's a super sticker. I don't know.
I think StreamYard fucks it up. Let me see what that sticker actually was.
What was it? We got this one from Driver 8. He says, where did Kev learn it from, Larry? I'm not a big...
Jay Avery sent a sticker that says, thanks for being you. That's what the sticker says.
I'm not really a yelling dad, though, huh?
You can yell.
But I don't really yell that much.
You can yell. You'll yell.
Come on.
I mean, not a lot, but just how I don't yell at you a lot.
I have barely ever yelled at you.
I mean, today's show is not a great example of if you're a yeller or not.
That's true. That is true. Your boy PK Man OG says,
we gotta wrap it up.
Awesome.
I gotta go.
Look at you. You got a hot date?
No, I just gotta eat dinner. It's 10 o'clock.
What are you making? What is it gonna be? I've seen
probably something not great because it's now
I've seen
10
your
o'clock.
kitchen there. I've seen your fridge, man. It's not good. It's not good. All right, that does it. Thanks to Pig in a Pickle. Thanks to Marin Auto Glass. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy, as well as our brand new sponsors, Sharp Corners, Sports Collectibles, and Sports Cards and Collectibles in Monterey, Pacific Grove, and ValleyHillRoofing.net. Thanks to all you guys. All the descriptions are linked in the websites are linked in the description. For Kev, I'm Larry. Peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you won't get exactly what